The signal. Dr. Maya Chen stared at her monitor, the blue light reflecting off her glasses as she analyzed the data for the fifth time that night. The research facility was quiet. Everyone else had gone home hours ago. But Maya couldn't tear herself away from the pattern she discovered 3 days earlier. This can't be random, she whispered to herself, taking another sip of cold coffee. The signal had first appeared on their deep space array 2 weeks ago. Everyone else at the Arecibo Deep Space Monitoring Station had dismissed it as cosmic background radiation or some natural stellar phenomenon. But Maya had noticed something unusual, a mathematical sequence buried within the noise that repeated with perfect precision. The sequence contained prime numbers, followed by universal constants, pi, the golden ratio, the gravitational constant. These weren't random. They were markers, the kind of pattern any advanced civilization would recognize as artificial. Maya gathered her findings and headed to Director Ramirez's office first thing the next morning. She hadn't slept, but adrenaline kept her focused. Dr. Chen, Ramirez acknowledged, not looking up from his tablet. "You missed yesterday's department meeting." "I was working on this," Maya said, connecting her tablet to the office display. The signal pattern filled the screen, sections highlighted in different colors. "The deep space anomaly isn't random. It's a message." Director Ramirez finally looked up, his expression skeptical. "Not this again, Maya. We've been through dozens of potential first contact signals. They always turn out to be natural phenomena." "Yes," Maya interrupted, "but this isn't natural. Look at the mathematical constants. And there's more. It contains spatial coordinates." "Coordinates to what?" "I'm not sure yet, but the signal is moving, Director. Whatever sent it is traveling through space, toward us." Ramirez's skepticism deepened. "And how far away is this supposed message coming from?" Maya took a deep breath. "Based on our calculations, approximately 35,000 light-years." "That's impossible," Ramirez scoffed. "Our equipment can't detect artificial signals from more than a few hundred light-years, even with the new quantum arrays." "Exactly my point," Maya said emphatically. "Whatever sent this has technology far beyond our own. The power required to broadcast something we could detect from that distance is astronomical." For the next 2 weeks, Maya fought to convince her colleagues. Most dismissed her theory, but a few began to take interest. They ran tests, analyzed the data from different angles, and tried to prove her wrong. They couldn't. Soon, representatives from NASA and the UN Space Commission arrived at Arecibo. Maya found herself presenting her findings to a room full of scientists, military officials, and government representatives. "The signal repeats every 38 minutes, she explained, standing before them. "It contains what we believe are spatial coordinates, though we're still working to decode the full message." "And you're certain this is artificial?" asked General Okafor, her face stern. "The probability of this occurring naturally is effectively zero," Maya replied. "What do they want?" someone else asked. "Based on the pattern variations and intensity, we believe it's a distress call," Maya answered. "Something or someone is asking for help." The room erupted in overlapping questions. Maya raised her voice to be heard. "We need to decide if we're going to respond. The signal originated 35,000 light-years away, but it's moving fast toward our solar system." The debate lasted weeks. World leaders were briefed. Scientists from other countries verified Maya's findings. Some argued that responding was too risky. What if it was a trap? Others believed it was humanity's moral duty to acknowledge the call. Throughout it all, Maya continued her work, extracting more information from the signal. Late one night, she made another breakthrough. "It's not just coordinates," she realized as new data appeared on her screen. "There's something else embedded in the signal." The next day, as Maya prepared to present her latest findings, her assistant burst into the room. "Dr. Chen, come quickly. The signal's changed." Maya followed him to the monitoring center where dozens of scientists gathered around screens. The signal was now broadcasting on multiple frequencies, and embedded within it were images, geometric shapes, star maps, and unmistakably, humanoid figures. "They're showing us what they look like," whispered a colleague. "Or what they want us to think they look like," Maya responded, a chill running down her spine. As the scientific community debated the alien signal, halfway across the world, deep beneath the Tibetan plateau, General Lian Wei stood in a chamber that officially didn't exist. At 58, she had spent 30 years protecting humanity's greatest secret. "The signal is genuine," Wei said to the 11 people seated around a circular table. All wore simple gray uniforms without insignia. "We must activate the Guardians." Colonel Harun shook his head. "Are we certain, General? Once we unseal the chamber, there's no going back." "I am certain," Wei replied. "This is exactly the scenario our ancestors prepared for, a threat from beyond the stars." She pressed her palm against a scanner hidden in the wall. A section of the floor slid open, revealing a staircase spiraling into darkness. One by one, they descended. The stairs led to an enormous cavern carved from the bedrock. The air was different here, warmer, with a faint smell like ozone. The walls glowed with strange symbols no modern human language could translate. At the far end stood a massive door made of dark metal that seemed to absorb light, marked with the same odd symbols. 8,000 years, whispered Wei. "That's how long this door has remained sealed." She removed a small wooden box from her pocket. Inside lay 12 vials of blood samples taken from unsuspecting civilians around the world. "The bloodlines have remained pure," she said, "just as we swore to maintain." Wei approached the door and pressed her hand against its center. Nothing happened at first. Then she took the first vial and emptied the blood onto the metal surface. The effect was immediate. The blood didn't drip down but spread out in perfect lines, filling invisible grooves in the metal. The symbols began to glow with a soft golden light. Wei emptied the second vial, then the third, until all 12 samples had been absorbed. With a deep rumbling sound, the door began to open. "It recognizes the genetic markers," Harun whispered. "After all this time." Behind the door lay a vast chamber bathed in soft blue light. Floating in transparent cylinders filled with clear liquid were 12 enormous humanoid forms, each standing at least 15 meters tall. Their metallic skin reflected the blue glow. They weren't robots, nor were they entirely biological. They were something in between, living machines created with technology far beyond modern understanding. "The Guardians," Wei said with reverence, "humanity's hidden protectors." According to ancient records passed down through generations of keepers, these giants had been created by early humans who possessed knowledge and technology that was eventually lost. They had foreseen a time when Earth would face a threat from beyond the stars, a threat that ordinary humans couldn't fight alone. "Now we must find the pilots," Wei said. The pilots weren't objects but people, 12 specific individuals who carried within their DNA the ability to connect with and control the giants. The keepers had tracked these bloodlines for millennia, ensuring they continued unbroken. Back at Arecibo, Maya was working late again when security guards entered her office. "Dr. Chen, please come with us. National security matter." Before she could protest, she was escorted to a waiting helicopter. 24 hours later, after a blindfolded journey, Maya found herself in a facility she didn't recognize, facing General Wei. "Dr. Chen," Wei said, "what I'm about to show you will change your understanding of human history. The signal you discovered, we've been waiting for it for thousands of years." "I don't understand," Maya said, confused. "Who are you?" "We are the keepers," Wei replied. "And you, Dr. Chen, are much more important than you realize. You're not just the one who discovered the signal. You're one of the 12 who can answer it." Wei led Maya through the facility to an elevator that descended deep into the earth. When the doors opened, Maya gasped. The vast chamber with the 12 giant figures floating in their cylinders stretched before her. What are they?" she whispered. "They are the Guardians," Wei replied. created by our ancestors to protect Earth from exactly the threat that's now approaching. And you, Dr. Chen, are genetically compatible with one of them. You are a pilot." Maya stared at the enormous figures, her mind racing to process what she was seeing. One of the giants seemed to call to her, the one in the third cylinder from the left. As she approached it, the giant's eyes opened, revealing glowing blue orbs that fixed on her face. The connection was immediate and overwhelming. Maya felt the Guardian's consciousness touch her own, not alien or mechanical, but somehow familiar, like remembering a dream she'd long forgotten. "I can feel it," Maya whispered. "It knows me." The awakening. Across the globe, 11 other individuals were experiencing the same sudden disruption to their lives. Kai Yamamoto was closing his Tokyo auto repair shop when men in suits approached him. In Lagos, Dr. Adebayo Okafor was pulled from surgery. Sofia Rodriguez was removed from her university physics class in Buenos Aires. None of them knew each other. None of them understood why they were being taken. All carried the same genetic marker, the legacy of ancient pilots who had once commanded the Guardians. Within 48 hours, all 12 had been transported to the hidden facility beneath Tibet. They were confused, frightened, and demanding answers. "I apologize for bringing you here this way," General Wei said, addressing them in a conference room near the surface level of the base. "But what I'm about to show you couldn't be explained over the phone." She told them about the signal, about the ancient chamber beneath them, and about their unique genetic heritage. "You're saying we're what? Some kind of chosen ones?" asked Sophia, the 22-year-old physics student. In a manner of speaking, Wei replied, "Your ancestors were the original pilots of the Guardians. That genetic link has been preserved in your DNA." "This is insane," said Kai, the mechanic. "I fix cars for a living. I'm nobody special." We looked at him steadily. "That's precisely why you were chosen, Mr. Yamamoto. The original pilots were ordinary people who rose to an extraordinary challenge." She led the 12 down to the chamber. When they saw the giants floating silently in their cylinders, most were struck speechless. "Each of you is linked to one specific guardian," Wei explained. "When you connect with it, the neural interface will activate. You'll be able to control it with your thoughts." "And if we refuse?" asked Dr. Okafor, his voice tight. "Then humanity faces this threat alone," Wei said simply. "The choice is yours. But know that these beings were created to respond only to you. Without you, they remain dormant." Maya stepped forward first. She approached her guardian again, the one that had called to her before. She placed her hand against the clear surface of the cylinder. The guardian's eyes opened, glowing blue orbs fixing on Maya's face. The connection deepened. Maya felt the guardian's consciousness merge more fully with her own, not overriding her identity but enhancing it, giving her access to knowledge and abilities she'd never imagined. One by one, the others approached their guardians. As each connection formed, lights throughout the chamber brightened. Systems dormant for millennia hummed to life. The guardians were awakening. For 5 days, the 12 pilots trained with their guardians. Each person learned at their own pace. Some struggled with the neural connection, finding it difficult to control such massive bodies with their thoughts. Others took to it quickly, as if they had done it before. Maya mastered the connection faster than anyone. The 34-year-old astrophysicist had always had a talent for understanding complex systems. Now she was learning to operate an ancient biomechanical being with her mind. "It's not as hard as it looks," she told the others during a break. They sat together in the facility's cafeteria, exhausted but exhilarated. "Don't think of it as controlling something separate from you. Think of it as extending yourself, like the Guardian is just a larger version of your own body." "Easy for you to say," grumbled Kai, rubbing his temples. "I still can't make mine walk without crashing into walls." Maya smiled sympathetically. "You'll get it. I think our minds just work differently. I analyze cosmic data for a living. Understanding patterns comes naturally to me." Her guardian, codename Athena, responded to her thoughts with perfect precision. When she wanted it to move, it moved exactly as she imagined. The neural link felt right somehow, familiar. It feels like remembering rather than learning, she tried to explain to General Wei. Like I've done this before, and I'm just recalling how it works. We nodded. According to the ancient texts, that's exactly what's happening. Your ancestors' memories are encoded in your DNA. Not conscious memories, but muscle memory, instinct. As the pilots trained, the scientists at Arecibo continued monitoring the alien signal. It was changing, growing stronger and more complex. The embedded images now showed scenes of destruction, crystal ships breaking apart, shadow creatures consuming everything in their path. They're under attack, Wei announced grimly when the new data arrived. It's time. Ready or not, the Guardians must answer. That evening, the 12 Guardians were prepared for deployment. Unlike in ancient science fiction movies, these beings weren't clunky robots or machines. Their bodies flowed like liquid metal, changing shapes slightly with each movement. Each stood over 15 meters tall, with smooth, featureless faces that reflected light like mirrors. No two were exactly alike. Some were broader, some more slender, each seemingly designed to complement its pilot's natural thinking style. Inside each Guardian, the human pilot sat within a spherical chamber filled with a clear gel that supported their body and strengthened the neural connection. They didn't control the Guardians with buttons or levers, but with their thoughts alone. All units report status, came General Wei's voice through their communication system. Athena ready, Maya responded immediately. One by one, the others confirmed their status. Good, said Wei. Now prepare for space transition. This was the part they had only been told about, never practiced. According to the ancient knowledge passed down to the Keepers, the Guardians could travel through space by folding the fabric of reality itself. Clear your minds, instructed Wei. Focus only on the coordinates we provided. Your Guardians know what to do. Maya closed her eyes and pictured the numbers in her mind. The source of the distress signal, 35,000 light-years away. She felt Athena respond, its entire body vibrating at a frequency she could feel but not hear. The air around the 12 Guardians began to shimmer. Light bent around them in impossible ways. Then, in a flash, the temporarily blinded satellites passing overhead, they vanished from Earth. Maya felt a sensation like being stretched and compressed at the same time. Colors she had no names for rushed past her consciousness. Then suddenly, stillness. She opened her eyes and gasped. Through Athena's sensory systems, she could see they were no longer on Earth. The 12 Guardians floated in deep space, surrounded by stars that formed unfamiliar patterns. Did we just travel 35,000 light-years in seconds? Kai's voice came through the communication system, shaky with awe. Before anyone could answer, they saw it. A battle raging around a small blue-green planet. A fleet of ships made of what looked like crystal were trying to defend the planet from strange shadow entities that seemed to swallow light. The crystal ships were beautiful, delicate-looking structures that sparkled in the starlight. But they were clearly losing the fight. As the Guardians watched, one of the crystal vessels broke apart, shattered by a formless black mass. Those are the ones who sent the signal, said Wei through the comms. And they're about to be destroyed. The response. Maya didn't wait for orders. Athena moved forward, propelled by her instinct to protect. The other Guardians followed her lead. As they approached the battle, Maya could see the shadow creatures more clearly. They had no fixed shape. They flowed like oil in water, constantly changing form. Sometimes, they looked almost like enormous squids with tentacles of darkness reaching out to crush the crystal ships. Other times, they seemed more like clouds of black smoke with glowing points that might have been eyes. One of the shadow entities noticed the approaching Guardians and broke away from the main group. It rushed toward them, growing larger as it came. Evasive action, shouted Sophia over the comms. The 12 Guardians scattered, moving with surprising grace for such large beings. The shadow creature seemed confused, pausing its charge. "How do we fight these things?" Kai asked, panic edging his voice. Maya felt something stir in her mind, not her own thought, but knowledge from Athena itself. "The guardians know," she said. "Let them guide you." She relaxed her conscious control, allowing Athena's ancient programming to surface. Her guardian raised its arms, and energy began to gather between its hands, a swirling ball of blue-white light. The other guardians did the same, each generating similar energy in different colors. When the shadow creature charged again, all 12 released their energy at once. The combined beams struck the entity. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the shadow began to dissolve, breaking apart like smoke in a strong wind. The crystal ships noticed their new allies. One broke away from the main fleet and approached the Guardians. It was smaller than the Guardians, but intricately designed, its surface covered in what looked like writing or symbols. A voice filled Maya's mind, not through the communication system, but directly into her thoughts. "You answered our call," it said in words that somehow translated themselves. "We had almost lost hope." "We're from Earth," Maya responded, allowing Athena to transmit her thoughts. "Earth," the voice repeated. "Yes, the home of the sleeping guardians." The ancient texts spoke truly then. Before Maya could ask what that meant, more shadow entities broke away from the main battle and headed toward them. "There will be time for explanations later," said the voice. "For now, we must fight." The shadow creatures moved like a single mind, coordinating their attacks with frightening precision. But the Guardians were equally coordinated, their pilots working together instinctively. Dr. Okeffer's Guardian, Apollo, generated protective shields that deflected the shadow's attacks. Sophia's Guardian, Artemis, could fire precision energy beams that cut through the entities with surgical accuracy. Kai, despite his earlier difficulties, found his Guardian, Hephaestus, was perfect for close combat, its arms transforming into blades of energy that sliced through the shadows. Mina's Athena seemed designed for leadership, enhancing the abilities of the other Guardians when they fought in formation. Together, they pushed back against the shadow creatures, destroying one after another while protecting the crystal ships. The battle raged for what felt like hours. The Guardians fought tirelessly, their ancient energy sources seemingly inexhaustible. The crystal ships coordinated with them, their weapons less powerful but precise, targeting weak points the Guardians created in the shadow entities. Finally, the remaining shadows retreated, disappearing into the darkness of space. A cheer went up through the communication system as the pilots celebrated their victory. The crystal ship that had communicated with Maya earlier approached again. This time, a beam of light extended from it to Athena, creating a visual link. Through it, Maya could see the ship's interior and its pilot, a humanoid being with crystalline skin that refracted light in rainbow patterns. Its eyes were large, without pupils, and it had no visible mouth. "I am Luminera of the Crystalline Collective," the being communicated directly to Maya's mind. "You have saved our homeworld and our people. We are eternally grateful." "I'm Dr. Maya Chen of Earth," Maya responded. "We received your distress call." "The shadows have hunted us for millennia," Luminera explained. "They consume energy, all energy, including life energy. They have destroyed 12 star systems before reaching ours. We had nowhere left to flee." "But you knew about Earth," Maya said. "About the Guardians." "Yes," Luminera confirmed. "Our oldest records speak of them, and of Earth. Long ago, when the universe was young, your ancestors traveled the stars. They were among the first sentient beings to achieve interstellar travel." Maya was stunned. "Our history doesn't record this." "There was a great catastrophe," Luminera continued. "A war that nearly destroyed all spacefaring civilizations. Your ancestors retreated to Earth, sealing away their most advanced technology to protect it, including the Guardians. They left markers with trusted allies, including our ancestors, telling us where to find help if the ancient enemy ever returned. The shadows, Maya whispered. Yes, we hoped the records were true. We had no other hope. The other pilots were silent, absorbing this revelation about humanity's forgotten past. They weren't just descendants of an advanced civilization. They were its last line of defense, awakened just in time. Will they return? Asked General Wei, who had been listening through the communication system. Not soon, Luminara replied. But eventually, yes. The shadows are patient. They will gather their strength and try again. Then we'll be ready, Maya said firmly. The Guardians are awake now. We won't forget again. In the days that followed, the Crystalline Collective welcomed the humans to their world. The pilots learned that the galaxy was filled with diverse civilizations, many descended from those who had survived the ancient war. Earth had been forgotten by most, remembered only in legends as the birthplace of the Guardians. Your return changes everything, Luminara told Maya, as they stood on a crystal balcony overlooking the alien city. It signals a new era for all sentient beings. We have so much to learn, Maya said, watching the other pilots interacting with the crystalline beings. We thought we were alone in the universe. You were never alone, Luminara replied. Just waiting. And now humanity will take its rightful place among the stars again. Before they returned to Earth, the collective shared their knowledge and technology freely. They established a permanent communication link and promised to help humanity rebuild the advanced civilization it had once been. When the Guardians and their pilots finally returned to Earth, they brought with them not just news of alien life, but proof of humanity's greater destiny. The signal that Maya had discovered hadn't just been a call for help. It had been a reminder of who humans truly were, not just inhabitants of a single planet, but protectors of life throughout the galaxy. As Maya stood before the United Nations, explaining what they had discovered and the ancient legacy humanity had reclaimed, she thought about how it had all started with a pattern she'd noticed in the noise, a signal that nobody else believed was real. We stand at a crossroads, she told the assembled leaders of Earth. Our ancestors once walked among the stars. They created wonders we're only beginning to understand. The Guardians are just the beginning. We have the chance to reclaim that legacy, not just for ourselves, but for all life in the galaxy. The 12 Guardians now stood watch over Earth, visible reminders of humanity's forgotten past and its possible future. And far beyond the solar system, other civilizations looked toward Earth with renewed hope, knowing that the sleeping giants had finally awakened. The ancient enemy would return someday. But this time, humanity would be ready.